The News 4 Rundown starts now.
Welcome in, everybody. I'm Jim Hadley. It's Thursday, June 18th. Lots to get to tonight, but we want to begin with a projected win in the Democratic primary for D.C. mayor. With nearly 3/4 of the vote in, NBC News Decision Desk is projecting that Janeese Lewis-George will beat out a crowded field of candidates. Her closest competitor, Kenyon McDuffie, conceded the race this morning, clearing the way for Lewis-George to become the party's nominee on the November ballot. Today, she vowed to make government work for all people of the district.
When they're struggling every day, working 2 jobs and still can't make it, they don't want to hear about what government can't do. They want to know what government can do. And I ran for mayor to show them what government can do when you care, when you show up, when you listen, and when you put people first.
News 4's Paul Wagner follows today's big win for Lewis-George. He has more reaction tonight from the presumptive Democratic nominee and Mayor Bowser.
Good evening. I spoke with Mayor Bowser earlier in the day, and then we came here to Busboys and Poets at 14th and V for a news conference at 1 o'clock this afternoon, where Janeese Lewis-George answered every question from virtually every news organization in the city for about 50 minutes. Of course, the AP and the NBC decision desks have said that Janeese Lewis-George has won the primary, but now she still has to win the general election. Janeese Lewis-George told reporters she thought her primary win came from early listening sessions with residents around the city on what they wanted to see in a mayor, and designed her campaign from there. She said the election was not about her, but about the people of D.C. and a broad coalition of supporters, the most diverse coalition in the city's history, winning 7 out of the city's 8 wards. Lewis-George said she will not back down in fear of President Trump, but hopes to work with him and will certainly reach out when the time comes. As for how she won, here's Lewis-George in her own words.
And I think people really resonated with a vision and policy plans to really address that affordability crisis. I think people wanted to make a very real stance against where we are in our city. As you know, many of our federal workers, thousands of our federal workers lost their jobs. Thousands of our families have been impacted by ICE and some destroyed by ICE. Our young people have carried the brunt of a lot of the focus and have felt wanting to be heard and seen. And I think what you saw is a community stand up and say, we want a leader right now who has moral clarity and the courage to fight back and stand up for D.C. residents.
Lewis-George says she will fight for universal child care in the city and find a solution to the food deserts in Wards 7 and 8. There will be a nationwide search for a new chief of police, she said. This morning, Mayor Bowser had this reaction to the news of McDuffie's call to concede.
Listen, we're going to keep governing over the next 6 months, and on January the 2nd, pass off the baton of the best city in the world, and it will be in great shape.
Of course, Janeese Lewis-George still represents Ward 4 on the city council. She said she still has much work to do, and she says she will continue working all the way up until she is sworn in as mayor. Outside Busboys and Poets in Northwest, Paul Wagner, News 4.
Now you can find more details on the mayor's race and all of Tuesday's race results online at NBC4Washington.com. Now to Maryland, where voters will head to the polls to vote in their primary next Tuesday. Our coverage of the state's 6th congressional district continues. On Monday, you heard from Democratic candidate David Trone. Today, News 4's Darcy Spencer spoke with the incumbent, Democrat April McClain-Delaney, about why she's running for re-election and why this competitive race has become so negative.
April McClain-Delaney running for re-election to keep the 6th congressional district seat. It's a race that has turned negative on both sides. David Trone, who once held the seat, wants it back and has gone on the attack, spending millions of dollars on TV ads.
You know, it's really easy when you're on the sidelines and you want to get back in the game because you're bored and you've been gone for a year and a half. I think he's really upset that he lost his last election, and this is his way and his way of coming back.
With just days left in the campaign, McClain-Delaney dropped a new ad on social media.
Nonstop attack ads are distorting who I am. Enough.
She said she wants to make sure voters know her record as they head to the polls. How she fought against the proposed ICE warehouse near Hagerstown, fought to have President Trump's name removed from the Kennedy Center, and fought for research and development money and jobs cut by DOJ.
For our 35,000 government workers in my district, our leading research agencies, for women's issues and for our immigrants. But also, I think the most important thing I'm hearing about is affordability in terms of how people are struggling to make ends meet as our president is building monuments to himself.
McLean Delaney pushed back on Trone's claims that she had voted with MAGA 22% of the time. She said she's united with fellow Democrats, but there was one vote she says she regretted. That was voting for the Laken-Riley Act, which requires undocumented immigrants to be detained when they're accused of committing violent crimes. It's a vote Trone has criticized relentlessly in his TV ad campaign.
I did vote for it, and there was a lot of pushback. I did not know that I thought it would be the DHS of Biden years. It was the DHS of Trump that became lawless, and I would not vote for it now.
McLean Delaney said she believes voters are growing tired of the attack ads, deliberately made an ad that was positive.
And I will say my constituents say they've never seen anyone show up more than I've shown up, even to the point in Allegheny where I had some women say, "You've shown up more than anybody."
Trone has also described himself as the fighter needed in Washington to take on Trump. McLean Delaney said she's been fighting Trump since day one and will continue to do so if reelected.
This is a all-out assault and a completely not business as usual, I think, as Senator Von Hollen says. So it's been very difficult. And I think the biggest issue is Project 2025 was really about destroying trust in how our agencies work, in our government workers, in our institutions, our courts, our elected officials, and one another.
While Trone downplayed the endorsements McLean Delaney got from top Maryland Democrats, including the governor, she says they're important to show party unity in the fight for affordability and equal rights.
I am standing up for our working families, for women who are having their, assault on their equal pay and on their choice, and fighting for our immigrants.
Darcy Spencer, News 4.
Now, early in-person voting for Maryland's primary ends in the next 25 minutes. Maryland's primary is next Tuesday, June 23rd. Other stories we're following for you. Today marks the start of early in-person voting in Virginia. While the official start isn't until tomorrow due to the Juneteenth federal holiday, local offices will be open today for early voting. Virginians will decide the primary nominations for a U.S. Senate and House seat, as well as several local offices. Early voting will continue until August 1st. Virginia's primary election day is August 4th. The Capitol Pride Parade and Festival are this weekend in D.C., but DuPont Circle, one of the largest gathering spots for Pride every year, will be closed all weekend long. The National Park Service announced it will install a temporary fence around the circle, and that area will be closed to the public starting at 6 a.m. tomorrow. That fence will remain up through 6 p.m. Sunday. As we approach the 4th of July, local fire leaders are reminding people about the dangers and potential fines people face for using illegal fireworks. In D.C., things like sparklers are legal, but in many areas in Northern Virginia and Maryland, like Fairfax, Alexandria, Montgomery, and Prince George's counties, all fireworks are illegal. Fire officials say the best advice is to leave the fireworks to the professionals. Speaking of fireworks, we are getting the clearest picture yet about waterway restrictions for the 250th birthday celebration for the USA. Those restrictions have expanded yet again. Our transportation reporter Adam Tuss has been following all the details since the beginning. He's along the Potomac tonight with the latest.
Yeah, well, look, when it comes to watching the fireworks on the 4th, there aren't many better spots than right here along the Potomac, especially if you have a boat. But we now know that this entire section of the Potomac River is going to be off limits to boats on the 4th. Basically from the 14th Street Bridge past the monuments, all the way past the Memorial Bridge and up to the Key Bridge. You will not be allowed to be on the water there, and the Anacostia also now being included.
Yes, take a look at this new map from the Coast Guard that's circulating to the boating community. The areas in red here now being deemed security zones, since large barges will be brought in carrying a huge amount of fireworks. At the local marinas, word is spreading.
This whole section of the Anacostia River is going to be a restricted zone.
Captain Tim Blanchard is with Fish the Potomac Charters.
We weren't aware that they were going to actually close off the Anacostia River. So that means from the 11th Street Bridge, which is just north of me, to 200 yards south of the Frederick Douglass Bridge.
Some exemptions will be made for commercial vessels. Keith Kroc is the head of Freedom 250, which is organizing the events around the nation's 250th birthday. He explains why such a huge security perimeter is necessary.
This is going to be the biggest fireworks in history. You're going to have to trust me on that. I mean, it is going to be probably 5x of anything that has ever happened right here. We're going to blow it off in 18 locations, I believe. So, don't miss it. I'm sorry, couldn't be on the Potomac, but maybe next year.
Waterway restrictions are expected to start as early as July 2nd. Along the Potomac, Adam Tuss, News 4.
Now, for context, the typical fireworks show in D.C. lasts about 17 minutes. This year, it could last as long as 45 minutes. The News 4 Rundown will be right back. Here's a look at what we have coming up.
Yeah, we saw a lot of clouds for much of the day, but then sunshine over the last hour or so. But now we're tracking rain and potentially a lot of it to the south, trying to work its way our way. But what does that mean for our Friday? I've got that forecast and your weekend forecast. See you back here in a minute.
Not to get it, I'm on a barge, into your weekend or anything, but the scene is so jam-packed. A little bit of a road trip down 95 to celebrate America 250, Juneteenth, and a 50-year-old festival here in Norfolk, Virginia. But also, don't you worry, I got stuff to do all around the Beltway. On the way on News 4.
It was a special day for former President Obama in Chicago, the city where his wife was born and where his political career began. There was a star-studded opening ceremony for the new Obama Presidential Center. NBC's Jorge de Santiago joins us now live from the new landmark on the city's south side. Hey, Jorge.
Hey there, Jim. A-listers were out here, and finally the wait is over. 11 years after he mentioned he wanted a presidential center, it finally opened. The Obamas were here to witness it. Former presidents were here too, and so was Chicago. At the John Lewis Plaza, named for the late civil rights icon in Jackson Park on Chicago's south side, the Obama Presidential Center officially opened its doors, a ceremony unlike anything this city has seen.
President Barack Obama.
Oh, say, can you see?
Jennifer Hudson, Bruce Springsteen, Stevie Wonder, John Legend, Common, Mark Anthony, Eddie Vedder, and more here on the south side of Chicago.
This is inspirational. This is fiery. I love America. I love Chicago.
I love it. It's such an honor. I love the Obamas, and I just love it. It's just a wonderful celebration.
But the biggest moment belonged to the man this place was built for.
And more than anything, I hope this center will serve as an affirmation of just how special, how precious our democracy truly is.
And beside him, as always, Michelle praising him as a father and recounting his strength during the 8 years in the White House, leaving him in tears.
There hasn't been a single second through this experience that standing by your side hasn't left me in awe. 8 years in the crucible, and not once did you melt from the heat.
This is the city that shaped them both, where they met, where they married, where they built a life before the world knew their names. This center didn't come easy. Community groups raised concerns about the use of parkland. A federal judge gave the project the green light in 2019. And now, standing tall, 8 floors of history. Artifacts from the 2008 campaign, and outside, playgrounds, gardens, and a sports facility. All of it built for this community.
This center could not be anyplace else. It's an expression of thanks.
The Obama Foundation says this place was built for everyone, not just Chicago. And judging by what we saw on stage today, They meant it. It is worth noting that our parent company Comcast is among the donors for this presidential center just right behind me. Live in Chicago, I'm Jorge de Santiago. Jim, back to you in studio.
What an impressive and inspiring day. Jorge, thanks so much for your live coverage throughout this evening. We appreciate it. We saw a lot of clouds, another warm day, but not a lot of rain.
Yeah, and the reason why is because of all the cloud cover that we saw out there. Didn't allow for the thunderstorms to develop. That's good news. We talked about that yesterday. The more clouds, the less we'd see a chance for strong or severe storms. And really, we didn't see much in the way of storms at all today across our area, with the exception of earlier this morning. Out there right now, you can still see the clouds, but some sunshine. Temperatures were at 87 degrees, so it was a warm day. High temperature today was 91. Winds out of the west-southwest at 11. We've seen some gusts upwards of 20 to 30 miles an hour today. Temperature-wise, in the 80s now, 85 Manassas, 90 though, Fredericksburg and Patuxent River. Areas that have seen sunshine are warmer. Where's the warmest? Ocean City coming in at 91. A good beach day down there for them. Now, for us, we're not dealing with any rain currently, but we're tracking rain moving our way. But first of all, look at the clouds. There's the clouds all day today. Now we're seeing some clearing. You can see some clearing right here, but then more clouds moving on our way, and eventually rain will move our way too, and it's coming from the south. We've got a boundary that's shifting across our area. At the same time, the remnants of Tropical Storm Arthur moving through Alabama in towards Georgia. Severe weather here. For us, it's going to make its way our way and give us a chance for that rain during the morning hours tomorrow. Now, not everybody's going to see it. Best chance is going to be south of D.C. throughout the afternoon, but could see some during the morning hours up to the north and west as well. Watch what happens, though, during the day. Again, through about 1 o'clock, we have rain south and east of D.C., but then we all clear out. So becoming sunny late in the afternoon. Looking at a great evening out there on your Friday. It's not going to start off as a fantastic Friday, but it will end as a fantastic Friday. Again, rain to start the day, showers at least, and then sunshine to end the day. 83 degrees tomorrow, 84 on Saturday, 87 on Sunday. Looking great there. 86 on Monday. Yeah, good chance of showers, maybe some storms on Monday. Not the best day, but we need the rain. And most of next week is looking great. Speaking of looking great, the weekend is looking great, and with more on the weekend scene, we go to Tommy McFly.
Hello from Town Point Park in Norfolk, Virginia. We're on the Elizabeth River. They're getting ready for tomorrow's big Sail 250 Virginia. We will be bringing it to you live. Look for over 60 tall ships from 20 nations making their way here. Still time to come join us. But if you're around the Beltway, a lot happening there too. It's, of course, Capitol Pride weekend. NBC4 and Telemundo 44 will be in the parade, which is a shorter route this year, with 14th Street being the most lively stretch. The festival happens on Pennsylvania Avenue on Sunday, featuring a concert from Maren Morris. If you do one thing, head to 17th Street. Their block party, it's the heart of Pride. On Saturday, the historically queer neighborhood in Northwest is a must for celebrating and supporting locals. It's Juneteenth weekend as well, and Saturday, the Home Rule Music Festival returns to the parks at Walter Reed. It's a day of go-go and jazz, a record fair, live art, food, drinks, and community. The annual Scotland Juneteenth Heritage Festival is happening all week long at Cabin John Park, put on by the historic Scotland AME Zion Church in Potomac.
Celebration! That's all. We celebrate freedom. Are we gonna celebrate us on just this day or just this month? But if we decide to celebrate us and love on us each and every day, then we can come very, very close to freedom.
Friday, starting at 10 a.m., the Anacostia Community Museum throws their neighborhood-style block party celebration. Rapper IDK, the Chuck Brown Band, and Black Alley perform on the main stage. This is also the only Smithsonian Folklife Festival event in D.C. this year. And don't forget Sunday's Father's Day. Check out the National Botanic Garden in Chantilly with Daddy-O. It opens on Sunday for rare self-guided tours in their vast campus. And the Smithsonian museums all around the National Mall are opening up late for the solstice and for America 250 celebrations. Now, here at Town Point Park, we're going to have the Sail 250 making their way through, plus a Juneteenth celebration featuring Patti LaBelle and Sister Sledge, and of course, fireworks. You know how we feel about fireworks. It's also the 50th anniversary of their Harbor Fest, which started in 1976 during the bicentennial. I'm Tommy McFly. Have an awesome weekend.
In New York today, people lined the streets of Lower Manhattan for the Knicks championship parade. Estimates have the crowd at well over 1 million people. Now, the Knicks capped an epic postseason run with their first title in 53 years. Finals MVP Jalen Brunson with the Larry O'Brien Championship Trophy waving to adoring fans. Crowd ended at City Hall. Lots of excitement from New Jersey native Karl Anthony Towns and Brooklyn native Jose Alvarado. Silver Spring native Josh Hart, a Sidwell Friends alum, getting a symbolic key to the city along with Knicks teammates and coaches. Congrats to Josh and the Knicks and all their multitude of fans in the Big Apple. All right, the Washington Wizards are hoping to one day hold a championship parade of their own right here. The number one pick in this year's NBA draft could help them inch closer to that goal. In part two of J.P. Finley's sit-down with Monumental Basketball President Michael Winger, the two discuss the importance of this pick when it comes to the Wizards' rebuild and talk about the future of two stars the team traded for last year. Now, Trae Young and Anthony Davis.
How big is this next step? How big of a deal is the number one overall pick in what you're trying to build a long-standing perennial playoff contender?
It is a significant step. I don't want to undersell it, but I also don't want to overstate it. It is not the most important thing that will happen. The most important thing that will happen is when we graduate from a contender to a champion. Whenever that comes, that will be our biggest moment. But you have to build a team capable of getting there. And that requires a combination of veterans, young players, ascendant players. We have Anthony, we have Trae, we have great young players, Alex, Key, Bilal. I mean, just the group is terrific. I'm so proud of these guys. But sure, I mean, having the number one pick it's a big responsibility. We have to get that pick right. And it's not just selecting a good player, it's selecting a good player who's also a great ambassador for Washington, D.C. You make the decision and that's your swing. Like that's the swing. You don't get to get a refund 30 days later if you save your receipt type of thing. And so we have to get it right.
You mentioned Anthony and Trae a few times. We got to see Trae play. I was at his introductory presser and you could feel it felt genuine, his excitement to start fresh in D.C. We haven't seen Anthony play, right? Like, how are your conversations with him? How much excitement does he have, like Trae did?
My conversations with AD are delightful. He's a pro's pro. He understands who he is in this league. He understands the direction of the league. He understands what we're trying to do organizationally. He's communicated to me a strong interest in being part of what we're building.
That's great. That's great to hear.
It is, of course. He, like the rest of us, wants to be on a really, really good basketball team and compete for something big. That's our aim. That's what we want to do, and I'm delighted that Anthony's here for that.
How much do you think you guys have changed the perception around here?
What I hear from fans is that while the losing has been difficult, and these 3 seasons have been particularly hard on the diehards, I get a lot. I love what you guys are doing. Now, would somebody who doesn't come up and tell me that they don't? I haven't had that yet, but I'm sure that there's a pretty large population that don't.
I don't know how long the runway is, but I think by and large fans are behind it.
I think that the perception has been a team that sort of starts from a young core, builds that group together, supplements them with the right vets. They have a chance to go beyond just scratching the surface of a playoff team. I'm not saying this team can do that today, but that's what we're aiming for. Right. And I think that what I've heard is that the fans appreciate that we're shooting for something big time, not for something less than big time. And that they've seemed to really get behind.
Now, you heard Michael Winger there mention Trae Young, the star guard the Wizards traded for last season. Well, according to a recent report from ESPN, Young is opting out of his current deal and will become a free agent. But many in the basketball world are reporting that Young will likely rejoin the Wizards on a new multi-year deal. That's going to do it for the News 4 Rundown on this Thursday night. Be sure to join us right back here for News 4 at 11. For now, I'm Jim Adley. Have a great night, everybody.